often said here on the show, it's particularly dangerous when you involve family members in your, well, projects, because obviously you have to make sure that they stick to the narrative, the plot. And of course, then once you let them in front of the cameras, if unlike yourself, you're not necessarily used to the bright lights, the director, the person behind there, doesn't matter how comfortable they make it, they can make mistakes. So seemingly, as the former royal known as Meghan Markle inadvertently dropped her own beloved mother, Doria, right in it. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here. Nice to see you. By the way, we're at that time of year out, we were all starting diets, have you noticed? It's all over the it's all over the telly, isn't it? Making you feel bad for having that extra jammy dodger, making you feel worse for just sitting around doing nothing, you know what I mean? Oh, take no notice. My motto is start those things when you're good and ready, because there's a research, wasn't there, done that apparently all those people that join the gym in January don't go back to that gym after a couple of weeks, and then sometimes they can't even get out of the thing they spent a lot of money on. Incredible, isn't it? My motto is gentle and steady as it goes. Be sensible, particularly when you get past 30. What do you mean? How dare you? Of course, back as ever to your breaking ball story of the day. We know with Harry and Meghan, we saw the fact that they decided to launch a new face in the midst of all of that documentary that they put out with Netflix, the one that millions apparently of people have watched and enjoyed. I wouldn't go that far. I think it's more of a curiosity thing, isn't it? A bit like a Victorian thing where you go, what, really? What's happening? How has that happened? That sort of stuff. Interesting to note, though, that if you recall, when Meghan and Harry were deciding to launch this, which wasn't a reality TV show, even though it was in 6 parts called a docu-series, and they denied it. Do you remember? Even their cheerleader denied that they were ever making this sort of program. Lies upon lies upon lies. Obviously been filming for years, storing footage and trying to make it as interesting as possible. Sadly for them, they failed on quite a number of occasions. But what's interesting here, as I say, is if you recall, Meghan herself decided to distance herself from that documentary way back when she was doing an interview with Variety, basically saying about the director, it's through her lens. Lovely phrase that, isn't it? Basically saying we can't stand it, we're not quite sure how it's going to be received, but tell you what, we'll drop someone else in it along the way. The director was Liz Garbus, and apparently she was an esteemed director and good friend. I use that term lightly, good friend for a while, seemingly not so good friends now. Do correct me if I'm wrong, Liz. As ever, always nice to know the facts, isn't it, dear? But what's nice, I find, is that when you think about it, as I say, they decided to sit down and get as many people on camera that they felt they could illustrate their story with. The biggest mistake, though, seemingly now, is the fact that they got her mother, Doria, the shrinking violet that never said anything he meant, while appearing alongside His Royal Highness, as he then was, Prince Charles, at the royal wedding. Yeah, everybody felt really sorry for her. But perhaps, as that video is now shown, there was a more steely sort of background and backbone to her than met the eye. What's the problem that really is that now people have decided to delve even far deeper now into Doria's background. And this is because the inconsistencies, when you put yourself out there, people start to look and say, well, this doesn't make sense. And when you consider it, there's a long period apparently where Doria was not necessarily, and as ever we have to say allegedly, as active in the young Meghan's life or Rachel's life as she was leading to believe. And so consequently now people are trying to put the pieces together. This is the problem. What happens, when you decide to reveal all, people decide to tell their version of the story, and then sometimes the correct version can come out. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be detrimental to Doria. She seemingly has ridden quite a few waves in her life, So, as I say, you could see a completely different Doria in front of the camera to the one that played the shrinking violet, as I say, at the royal wedding. But now it could be Doria inexplicably that turns everything on its head. And as I say, as people delve deeper, and they are expert people, let me tell you, that are looking into the background, it could be the unwisest decision that Meghan herself has made. But guess what? As she pointed out in that interview, it wasn't necessarily her version of events. It wasn't her version of her life. It was someone else's vision that she was entrusting through their lens. Once again, never her fault. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.